Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our chat room, via our Facebook page, and of course, on Twitter. Keep it funky. That's right, everyone. Keep it funky. Here we are. January 31st, the last day of January 2019, and Stu and Nunn are back in our respective studios. The northern studio for me, the southern studio in Tejas for the Nunn. We were together last week on a special Sunday show. The week before, Colton joined me, so we are back together again. What's up, Toby? How you doing, brother?
You know, it is awesome to be together, my brother.
Yep. It was best. It was cool last week because we were like together.
Yeah, up in the man cave.
Yep. The hockey sign behind us, representing the North.
Yeah. No, well, how is the North doing?
The North.
We're all thoughts and prayers from the South to the North.
Yeah. You may have heard about it on the news. We got a little chill going on up here. Some polar vortex. The global warming thing is a farce. I think it is not. I think it has been proven. Al Gore is a big liar. There's no global warming going on right now in Chicago, the upper Midwest, Northeast. We are rocking 4 degrees here right now, ambient. Yesterday was a -2 with the -35 wind chill. And I think Minnesota and Illinois were knocking on the -50, -60. That's Fairbanks, Alaska in January weather right there, let me tell you. That's Yukon territory.
That's why there's much love coming, from the south to the north. As a former further northerner than you, I can appreciate and understand the pain and suffering y'all are going through.
Yeah.
Although I will say, seeing really cool reports about generous anonymous people in Chicago buying up hotel rooms, and I think one guy did 70 rooms or something.
I saw that last night. Yeah.
Off the streets. I mean, that's pretty cool to see. It's heartwarming. That people do that.
Yeah. You got a lot of things going on in Chicago. You got an alleged homophobic, racist attack, and then you got a guy, buying up 70 hotel rooms for a couple nights, I think through tomorrow, for homeless folks whose the heat went out in their homeless shelter, and just someone took it upon themselves, and people doesn't know, probably would never know him or her, whoever did it. Yeah, that's the kind of part that and even in cold times like that, it warms your heart. You're like, that's where people just step up and help each other out, So
yeah, so let's start with that. Let's start with people looking out for each other in times of adversity. And, it's, for whatever reason that people are in the situations that they're in, being able to see and affect their situation or speak into it or affect it, that's good stuff. And, I'm proud to be part of the human race when people do that.
Right.
Because, as a Christian, I'm a strong believer that, do unto others as you wish done to you. Love thy neighbor. And, I think that's awesome, that people are responding to bad situations with love. Now, with that said, also in Chicago, like you said, it seems like, and it's starting to look like, walks like it, smells like it, starting to talk like it, we might have a duck on our hands.
You got me curious here. I'm not sure where you're going with this. We have not talked before the show. I'm not sure which way you're leaning on this one.
It sounds like, it looks like, with hundreds of man hours, hundreds of videotape hours surveilled, watched, that all the hype about this hate crime might be coming out, that it's actually the opposite.
Yeah,
And here's the thing,
the
like,
false flag, it scares you. When I saw it, man, I didn't mean to cut you off. When I saw it the other night news, I'm like, what? Why would somebody do that? Why would it? And I swear to goodness, Toby, they were talking through it. What he said, I'm like, man, this dude got, that's terrible. And then I heard, and then he yelled MAGA country, and I went, hit the what? I'm like, hit the brakes. I'm like, that sounds a little too false flaggy. And it was like, and I'm like, why would there be a couple of MAGA dudes running around in downtown Chicago at like dark 30 and freeze 30 and looking and knowing where someone's gonna be? And I'm just like, wait a minute, you had me until you dropped the MAGA. I'm just saying, I kind of dropped some.
Like, so our good friend, former guest of the show, one of the G6 brethren, who just recently had a birthday. Shout out to Matthew Courier Burden, Black Five.
Black Five.
He said and shared something the other day about some guys getting beat up in Chicago for potentially being Trump supporters.
I didn't. Where's the outrage? I didn't hear that on the news.
Like, no hats, just not a verbal accosting, but like a straight up beat down, ass whooping for being Trump supporters. Now, that's not the first time, and it won't be the last time that any side of any political spectrum engage in violence upon each other. But what I will say is Chicago, by all senses and appearances, seems to be a very anti-Trump town.
It appears that way, yes. Not the outskirts. I think you got the Naperville and some of those areas, and away from 15, 20 minutes out, I think you'll find pretty conservative areas. But in the rest of Illinois, actually, I think it's pretty conservative.
You'll find that anywhere.
Yeah.
But that does stick out in the guy's story. Now, the video surveillance, they released a person of interest.
I saw a video. I saw a picture of like two dudes walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like, from the time that he says that he was accosted, like there's issues with the timeline and, like he's not in the scenario or as it's, said to be.
Well, now I'm hearing, I just heard a little bit before the show started, he was on the phone with his manager or something, and his manager said he heard it. But they're refusing to turn over phones now. The actor who was the potential victim here won't turn his phone records over, turn his phone over, all that kind of stuff. That just, you start hiding. Look, if you're a victim and you want justice and you something happened to you, I don't know about you, Toby. Something happened to me. I'm like, dude, whatever it takes to find this person, right? Whatever it takes. And why would you be holding your phone back? If you're saying that something happened, something your phone is somehow tied to it, that was part of the evidence, why would you not give that over? But that was right before it came on the show. I saw that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Like
it doesn't lend well. It doesn't lend well at all.
No, and here's the thing, and I'm going to share a story with you. And
it's story time with Toby Nunn.
It's story time with Toby. So here it is, 2003. The 1st of the 23rd Infantry. There's a guy in our chat room right now, a guy by the name of John Brady, one of the greatest snipers to ever, grace the ranks of the United States Army, one of the most talented long barrels ever.
Oh, hold on real quick. Before you get going, let me ask you, is this going to start with no shit there I was or no?
No.
Okay.
We're in Kuwait.
Okay.
So you can't say no shit there I was in Kuwait. Because everyone knows, like, you got hot chow, you got nice showers, like all the great stuff that happens in Kuwait. So there we are in Kuwait, getting ready to move forward, cross the berm, whatever terminology you want to do.
Cross the LD.
Yeah, get after it. We're not quite pity patter. We're kind of like
about to get at her.
We're kind of in dormancy. We're hibernating in Kuwait, and something happens. A young lady is viciously assaulted, mutilated, damaged, and needs to get sent back. And I remember, our chaplain, great guy by the name of Derek Gooding. He was a captain at the time, now Lieutenant Colonel. Um, he found her. Him and someone, a counterpart that he was with.
Was she a Kuwaiti national or American or?
No, this is a U.S. American soldier.
Okay.
She had been restrained and damaged, mutilated, and it looked to be a horrific scene. And for about 2 months, every dude in our unit looked at every dude in our unit with suspicion. Like, are you the scumbag? Are you the worthless piece of crap that did this? And it created this strong tension, especially in the leadership. And our chaplain was deeply disturbed by it. You could tell, like he didn't understand how someone in our unit could have done that. But of course, it had to be an infantry guy, right? Because they're all animals. And comes out, once the investigation kind of moves forward and happens, that this was self-inflicted. Self-inflicted for the purpose of attention and self-inflicted with the purpose of being returned to the rear. And, it's like, I just remember the feeling in my gut when I heard that was worse than when I was trying to process that this actually happened in reality.
I would say it is worse that someone would go to that level.
Right. Before it was a stunt, before it was a ploy, a ruse. And man, I got to tell you, when we see this, there's a similar situation happening in the Central Texas area right now. There's 2 young men that were assaulted leaving a facility or a establishment downtown Austin. And, these guys got beat up, had to go seek medical care, medical aid. And, dude, I got zero tolerance, for that.
Right.
Zero tolerance for someone that just wants to put their hands and violate somebody because they disagree with their life, their lifestyle, their politics, any of that.
Right.
Got no time for it. Just like I got no time for the people going around beating up pro-Trumpers, I got no time for people that ran around beating up pro-Obamers. Like, got no time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. But, man, I tell you how sick it made me feel finding out that it was a lie. Yeah, like John Brady's, like Willie Mays Hayes, Sniper Hayes found her, and
so she did this to not deploy, not to go across ELD, like stay in Kuwait or go home. And kind of
we were in Kuwait. It was self-inflicted. She went back to the rear, and then what ended up happening is, as the investigation came forward, they came across some things, some discrepancies in her story, and then she confesses.
We see this throughout the country all the time, where maybe a young lady has a relationship she regrets after drinking or partying or whatever, so she tells them when she was raped, or they make it up because they don't like someone, they're going to say they were raped, or whatever it is.
Guys do it too.
Yeah, guys do too. But when women do it, because they get the automatic sensitive ear or sentimental ear, they do more damage to other women who truly are victims. They because then people just kind of like, oh, here's another one. They don't believe it. So automatically there's a shadow of doubt over anyone that makes a claim when there's obviously real claims. Look at the whole Kavanaugh thing, right? There was all that stuff where the first one was like, oh, okay, this lady, maybe something happened, and then the other ones kept coming and piling on. It was like, wait a minute. So it's like, all right, I don't believe any of them, because they're just, and now all of them have been thrown out, by the way, found to be untrue.
And that's that's kind of the sad state of affairs with this, because I don't want to have to. Let me rewind. I get out of the Army, and I get offered the opportunity to become a law enforcement officer. I have the highest respect for law enforcement officers. I have a level of envy of law enforcement. And one of the things that kind of bummed me out is I have a dear friend, a guy that we served with, that's a cop, and him and I are hanging out post-war, and I noticed the way he looks at everybody, and he looks at everybody with the eye of looking for the perpetrator, and his bullshit meter, pardon the language, is far more tuned than mine, and I realized, like, man, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have my bullshit meter so fine tuned that, nothing ever gets by me. I'm the guy that I want to believe the best. I want to believe the best in you. I want to believe the best in everybody.
Right.
I want to know that humanity is good, and I want to believe the best. And man, that feeling I got when we found out that it was a facade, it was a ruse. And then when you see this, like, immediately, I'm like, man, I'm not a fan of Empire. I've seen maybe one or two episodes, reruns on Stars, and I was trying to, like, check it out, and it seemed like a cool jam. So this guy's, like, on a popular show that a lot of people like. You can compare it to The Sopranos. You could compare it to Game of Thrones. You could compare it to any major popular, cable network channel, premium channel show. And, like, you don't need that attention, bro.
There's enough hate for one side or the other. From the other side, the people that are on the very far right that hate the left and liberals and vice versa. Like you said, you can't even wear a MAGA hat somewhere without people, or mentioning something. People don't even want to admit. They just had a model. She just admitted, came out, it's this famous runway model, that she was a big supporter of President Trump's and voted for him, but she was afraid to say anything, couldn't say it. There's enough happening. You don't need to make stuff up, right? There's no reason that an actor on Empire is gonna swing some votes or do whatever by saying this happened, except just cause more duress in society and cause more talking points by the whatever side media. Just say, oh, look, here's another one. It's just like the Charlottesville thing. When Charlottesville happened, we saw it on camera and all that stuff, and there were neo-Nazis freaking marching down and all that stuff. But, everyone tries to put a spin on that versus one way or the other. And we see it in every other thing that happens. It's either, unfortunately, it's boiled down to it's either pro-Trump or anti-Trump, and nothing else is in the middle anymore. There's not even a gray area.
And I agree with you. And, John Brady, and this is the Facebook chat room.
Oh, yeah. He's chatty. Thanks, John. We appreciate we appreciate that feedback.
This guy can shoot, by the way. If you ever need to, get some, like, applied ballistics in your life, this is the guy to do it. But, I think he's onto something. People want to play that victim card. Like, we've created this social media and society together have created this scenario where the victim is greater than the hero.
Yeah.
Unless you're, like, saving a drowning bunny in a swimming pool or rescuing a bear cub, you're not really much of a hero. But if you are a victim, like, whew, man,
right.
Everybody's got to rush to you. It's just like we talked about, with the young kids, at that Washington, D.C., the Covington Catholic kids.
Right. Like,
that was, like, there was a victim there, so let's exalt the victim. Let's exalt this guy. And then, unfortunately, it comes out that, he's, a Marine that was a refrigerator mechanic that went AWOL 3 times and, had a lot of other run-ins with the law. So, like, for lack of better terminology, is a righteous piece of shite.
Yeah, beat me to that one. I was about to go there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, like, but yet, we exalted him as a society because they're like, oh.
Well, they played the right Trump. They played the right card. I was gonna say Trump card. They played the right card. They went veteran, Native American.
Yeah, they played the veteran.
Right.
And this is, like John Brady mentioned in our chat room here shortly ago. Man, when you give someone that title, man, you give them something of of sustenance. You give them something of value. You give them something that they can feed off. That's why I use the word sustenance. You know, you give them something that they can feed off of.
Right. How many people do we know, you and I both know, like same, and probably others that we don't even know of each other, that get on Facebook or any social media and do their vague booking, right? They put up the, woe is me, it's such a bad day, blah, 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 and just sit back and wait for, oh, what's wrong? What can I
Yeah.
do? And again, they're exploiting the people that are really hurting, right? That when we talk about the 22 a day, that a lot of times don't reach out, right? And there's so much hypersensitivity to that. The people that get on vague booking, like, shit, today sucks. I mean, this may be the last, or just say whatever, just to get people. And then they go, oh, I feel good. Everyone loves me. Look, they're all commenting on me. But you get people spun up. You're essentially crying wolf, right? Everyone, adulting sucks. We all have to do it. It happens, right? You just deal with life and keep moving on. You worry about the real problems, not the first world problems. But people get on do it. You and I see it all the time. And then you sit there and go, so many times you can say that, and then people are really going to ignore the person that needs help. Maybe the person that does do say something that they're firing up the red flare, right? And you're like, oh, here's another one. They're hurting the people, just like victims do that claim rape or claim being beat up or assaulted or claim whatever. You know, it's a boy who cried wolf mentality, except it's at a national, if not international, around the globe level through social media.
So I want to transition a little bit because I think social media is, you know, part of this issue. But one of the things is like I think because our news cycle's so fast, our memories seem to get short. But not only do they get short, I think we just get lazy. And this is one of the things I'm like trying to impress this upon my kids right now. We have access to information. Like I had 32 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica in my living room as a kid.
Old school,
right?
That's right.
Dude, my dad like bought them on a payment plan so that I would have access to information at home.
Do the book reports.
To the public library.
Yeah,
right?
do those book reports.
Like,
that's how we did it. We had no Google.
No, and that was like an investment my dad made into our family, into knowledge that, you know, when I look back on it, I'm like really impressed by. I'm impressed by the fact that he took that time, effort, and his hard-earned money to put that into an information opportunity for me. Now,
John Brady's commenting there.
Yeah, that is. And well, John Brady met my dad, you know, like, so John Brady knows exactly who I'm talking about. And, you know, when I think about the investment I make in cell phones for my children, you know, like that's, you know, about the same amount of money, but they're getting a lot more, and they're getting instant, and they're getting like, you don't have to go to the table of contents. You don't have to go to the index. You don't have to think of things. You just got to type it in with your thumbs. Seconds later, you have like hundreds of thousands of words of information and images at your disposal.
Right.
So with that, yeah, and like Space Commander Steve said, I should have read them. I did read them. But one of the things that bums me out is with all this access to information, people still in power or in positions of influence stick their foot in their mouths. And, you know, I want to talk about the Starbucks CEO, Mr. Schultz, who is throwing his hat into the political ring as a political candidate in 2020 for the president of the United States.
Hey, being president, it's so easy. Even a billionaire can do it.
Hey, that's the word on the street. But one of the things that cracks me up about it is, you know, he was a Democrat. He identified as a Democrat. He's kind of walked that back. He's left the Democratic Party, and he's thrown himself out there as an independent. You know, part of me is like, well, I think people are starting to do that. I think we're going to see that a lot more. And I think that's the Bernie effect. And when I say the Bernie effect, I mean when people see that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, sabotaged their leading candidate so that they could promote the candidate of their choice, of their bias, or of their debt, whatever, you want to go with there. It's making it harder. Now, members of the Democratic Party, like Cortez, the newly elected freshman congressperson from your state, your people.
No, watch what you say there. Yeah, it's like me
That's not
saying
your.
that's like saying Beto there is your people.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just saying.
Beto didn't win. Beto. And when I say Beto, I mean Robert Francis O'Rourke. But the biggest thing is, in a quick moment, she called out his candidacy as being narrowed down to his wealth and said a billionaire, we shouldn't allow these billionaires just to pop in and try and run for office and do things. They should have to work their way up first, and they should have to serve in some capacity, know what they're talking about before they just run for office. Now, I mean, how old is she? 32, 33?
No, I think she's 29, I think she's
29.
29.
She's not even 30, right?
Yeah,
so she's she's one of the youngest ever elected. And she has the information available in her hands, and she didn't look up him. She didn't look up and find out that he was born and raised in government housing projects, right? Was the first member of his family to attend secondary education. Worked low-end jobs, to include being a bartender, which when I say a low-end job, there's some good cash in it, but career prospects aren't the greatest as that. Something that she also did. And then he worked himself up in a company, went from a entry-level position to vice president level position, and then started working with Starbucks as they were small and up and coming, became a retail manager, worked his way up, and then bought the company. Bought it with a B.
Yeah.
What's your definition of working your way up?
I mean,
you're 29 years old. You worked as a clerk and you interned at, and you've written a couple of papers and you've raised a little bit of money and you sold yourself as a socialist. People put you in office, which, surprises me. But, she's trying to lecture a dude that came from the projects that made himself a billionaire on working his way up. You have enough information in your phone, and I'm not talking 32 volumes of the Britannica that I had to flip through in my living room. I mean, you type in some keywords in this sense, you could just type his name and see the top 10 things. I bet you Wikipedia's in probably 2 or 3 spot. Hit that mammer jammer, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and the information rains down from the sky via cellular data transfer. Shout out to Russell White, and boom, knowledge. We're so lazy as a society and as a people, we won't even do that.
No.
We're blessed because we got this badass, guy named Rob in our chat room, who's basically the greatest producer ever.
Unpaid, unknown producer.
Unpaid, getting it, he's going to get some whiskey in his life. He's going to get some shirts in his life. And that's a promise, Rob, send me a PM and dude, we'll get you a nice bottle.
Keep those stats coming.
And we'll get some E9 or some shirts, maybe not E9, but we'll get you some shirts, hopefully some E9. And, we'll get it to you. But, it's Come on, use your phone, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I want to say bro, but I should say sis.
yeah. The No, it's again they're living in the moment. It's her and these other two freshmen when they're trying to stir the pot. They got a lot of people. AOC or whatever they call her little acronym now. She's one of the most watched C-SPAN speeches because she went on there. That's because no one watches freaking C-SPAN, but the youth are she tweets that she's going on and they're so in love with her, they go on and watch her. But doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna follow her to sign up when she commits everyone to combat or something. But yeah, it's this Schultz thing, I don't know, man. That poor guy, he gets up there and he's just looking at making a run, and they're all the left is freaking out because they all love their Starbucks, but they don't want him to run. They're cussing him out because they think he's going to split the Democratic vote. Well, you don't even know who's running yet. I mean, there's what 30 that are saying they're going to run, and something like that. And except for one, they just lost one. Toby, one dropped out. I don't know if you've heard or not. Some porn star. She not
Oh
not
man, and she was like,
yeah,
so
not Stormy Daniels.
5.
What's that?
She was in my top 5.
Was she? You thought? Yeah, I was looking at her and Kamala Harris being a pair, like being a ticket. But yeah, no. So she dropped out. And she put all of her support behind her first love. She said Bernie. So Bernie's pulling the porn stars. He is. He's like I don't know, man. I guess that's a new thing. That's how you come from the outside. You be a billionaire. You get a porn star that likes you. Everyone's trying to run by a new playbook that's being written on the fly.
Well, hey, but this isn't a new playbook. All right, so let's get some history. One of the most beloved American presidents of all time, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He was a known pipe layer. He was perhaps a founding member of the Pipe Layers Union, White House Pipe Layers Union, and that dude, Marilyn. Ever heard of her? She was
Yeah.
the famous Mr. President.
Right.
Man, like Stormy, if only Stormy could sing. Well, she wasn't as popular. But imagine whoever the hottie du jour is, like getting down with the president nowadays. Like, it'd be crazy. But, like it's not a new play, but it's a new spin on the play. I think we should take some of these candidates more seriously and know that, oh wait, it's not all about fame and fortune. It is.
What?
It's 100%. Like, how do you take a porn star serious? Like, come on.
Well, how do you take a 29-year-old bartender out of the Brooklyn serious? But we still don't. We still don't. She is the source of a number of great memes.
No, dude, I bet her sex tape will be a top seller.
Who's Ocasio-Cortez?
Yeah, come on now, dude. Everybody was talking about Sarah Palin and said that if Sarah Palin did something, it would be like ridiculous.
Right.
Now you have like the younger version. Saturday Night Live won't parody her, because it's too close to home. Literally too close to home. They're not going to parody her, even though like she's probably the best parody ever. But like, man, I tell you, like,
she is. If they were truly satirical like they used to be, she is never ending. Like,
dude,
just content.
She just
more than Dan Quayle.
Told like the CEO of like you should work your way up. Like, dude was born in the projects. Yeah. Oh, and on top of it, dude's white. I mean, like, come on now. Yeah. Like, you just got after him.
Yeah. But no. So, anyways, there's a lot going. A lot of things going on there on the tech side. We've covered some stuff, but I mean, on the tech side. I mean, on the political side. But it's we got what's his name, Stone there, who's been who's been, subpoenaed or indicted. You got that going on. That dude is just out there saying, "Nope, not me. Not gonna roll. Not gonna happen. I'm gonna, gag order. I'm still gonna keep talking." That guy is he is savage. I mean, he is and and they must think that because they sent a lot of guys with guns to get him at his apartment.
Wow.
At his little apartment, even put two like scuba SEAL teams out in the water in the lake behind his house, thinking he was gonna, flip over the side with his tank on and go and scuba away or something. I don't know, but it's yeah, I don't know where that's going. That also, when you talk about smelling and seeing and looking like a duck, that one kind of does too. That the whole tipping off of CNN and all that kind of stuff is just it's almost kind of like the false flag. It's like, really, you're trying a little too hard. To do that. They could have, I'm surprised we haven't seen like body cam footage get released yet. I'm surprised CNN didn't have one of their cameras on some dude, but it is never ending. And but our president keeps going on, and even today, he is shaking up the left pretty hard, especially the left in California. I don't know if you heard about this, Toby. He has nominated 3 conservative judges to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a ultra-left liberal circuit court of appeals in California, in San Francisco. And he has thoroughly ticked off Dianne Feinstein, and Kamala Harris because the normal protocols, they get to recommend someone. He's like, nah, nope, I'm putting my 3 people up. These are who I'm nominating. Approve my judges. So now they are all, like they didn't need something else to be fired up about. But there's nothing they can do. It's kind of like him canceling the plane. Nothing you can do about it.
So like let's just push the rewind button because this is about the plane. It's just someone from California tried to big league Trump, and here we are. Yeah. It's like, oh, you want to play that game? Like, I'm not agreeing with him. I don't even know anything about the appointees. I don't know anything about their judicial background. They could be total. They could not be good. Right? I put zero effort. I couldn't tell you their names. Like when Kavanaugh was put up, I actually did a little research and I looked into him, and I tried to understand, like, because it's the Supreme Court, and I wanted to be able to speak intelligently, or at least quasi intelligently about it. But like I know nothing about any of these, appointees. But what I do know, it's like, oh, you want to jack with the State of the Union? Not a problem. Let's shut down your shopping trip, to Europe, Egypt, and, pretend like you're getting some briefing, in Afghanistan that you can't get in, some SIF somewhere in town where there's plenty of. Come back to the table, like that whole thing. Like, oh, you want to play with fire?
Right.
Oh, you want to big league me? You think that you have the only ability to nominate people? I have the ultimate ability to nominate people. Boom. Like, people are like putting these things, I saw these memes with like Pelosi riding like Trump's back, and it's like, keep putting that stuff out. It's a little premature.
Yeah.
Like that's not how this is going to shake out. You think he doesn't have other cards up his deck? You think this is all about a cheap, extremely cheap $5 billion? He's the only guy that got people to vote against DACA. Like, they're like, you know what I mean?
Got Democrats, yeah.
He got Democrats to like not like Dreamers. Like,
right.
It's and it cracks me up because
he gets Democrats to vote and want like become war hawks, and then vote against DACAs and Dreamers because it's
no, like General Mattis, it's like I don't think we should leave. President Trump's like, I'm pulling the troops out. Democrats lose their mind. You're like, I can't believe it. Like, weren't you the party that said we should have leave and never have gone? Like, how many people campaigned on, well, I didn't vote for that. And now, like Mattis says, don't go, and Trump's like, nah, I'm gonna do what I want. Now you're all of a sudden like, well, we should probably leave. In fact, we should probably increase numbers.
In fact, the Senate voted in a rare rebuke to make sure he doesn't pull us out of Syria, and the Senate being conservative control, GOP control, that he doesn't pull us too fast out of Syria or Afghanistan. This is a country that has been talking about wanting to get out of wars since pretty much about 2005-6 time frame. And here we are in 2019, and our Congress is voting. No, 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 keep us there. We want to stay there a little bit longer. Okay. You know, so.
No, I mean, it's like it just proves that the only thing that matters is if you have opinion that's counter to Trump's.
Yeah.
Even if it like makes you look hypocritical, even if it's like opposing your own beliefs, if you and him agree on something, you must, like publicly declare dissent to it, or else,
Right.
like what, you're the worst human being ever.
Yeah.
Like you're wrong. Like we can't apologize to some kid because some dude walked up and started beating a drum in his face, and he like didn't say anything. Like whatever it might be. Like I I think we should do something about immigration. Okay, I'm willing to give amnesty to the dreamers if you help me with some border security. Nope, not today. Like it's hilarious and ridiculous, but it's so transparent that it doesn't matter what the issue is as long as it's against Trump.
Right. Right.
It
Remember that?
never
Remember that one dude? Remember that one dude?
schoolyard.
Remember I don't even remember his name anymore. The porn lawyer, and then there was the lady that was on The Apprentice that worked in his office for a little bit, and she wrote a book.
Omarosa.
Yeah, Omarosa. Dude, gone. I can't even remember. It's like when the left when whoever's done with you, they toss you to the side. Even though the lady that accused Kavanaugh, they brought down there, and everyone felt sorry for her and all that stuff. But they toss you to the left in a heartbeat. If you're not supporting their narrative or whatever they're trying to do, you don't hear about them. There's no like, I wonder where they are now. None of that mess. It is yeah, it's a good point, Rob. Rob says they hate Trump more than they love America. I think Rob is right on the point, and we've seen that time and time again because they're voting and they're picking things that are or putting support behind anything that he may like, regardless of what the outcome may be. I mean, like you talked about, Dreamers, DACA, things that that were a mainstay of their platform, or has been for the last couple of years. The second he does something to but because he did it, they're like totally against it.
No, and here's the thing: is like, I don't agree with everything he does. I don't disagree with everything he does. I'm probably as middle as it gets. But it's obvious to me that if you don't pick a side, you're wrong. And I believe you don't always have to pick a side.
No.
I believe that you can pick issues. Like there are issues that are important to me that aren't important to you. Like, for some people, the First Amendment's the number one issue. For other people, the Second Amendment's the other issue. For some other people, the Fourth and Fifth Amendments are the most important issue. Like for a whole group of people, the 19th Amendment, is the most important issue.
Right.
Like, for me, I'm like, I believe like you should be able to pick what's important and what's on your heart, and then find a candidate that best supports those that are on your heart. You don't always have to agree with everything. Disagreement's not disloyalty. And
you have a marriage, you have a wife, you have whatever. You don't always agree on everything. Doesn't mean you still. Yep. I mean, so you pick a candidate, you don't have to agree everything they say or do or policy, right? But fundamentally, hopefully you agree with whatever way they're trying to take the country or how they're trying to lead people or represent their constituents. That's fine. Doesn't mean you have to. But it seems we've gotten so jaded in the last 12 years or so, about 12 to 16 years, that it's been. No, it's all in or nothing. Like there's no freaking in between. Yeah. It's like, there were. I did not vote for Clinton, but there were things he did I thought were very good. There were things that President Obama did and said that I thought, man, that was really good. I'm glad he did that. That was, that was a respectful thing to do or the right thing to do or whatever. I don't, I've never subscribed to I didn't vote for that guy. I don't like that guy. There's nothing he can say I will ever agree with. That is so freaking idiotic and is a main divisive driver in this country because we
Yeah.
cannot sit there and say, wasn't my guy, but I appreciate that he did the right thing there, or she did the right thing there, said the right thing, or supported the right
No,
thing.
and it's like the our great producer Rob says it's tribalism. One of the things that cracks me up is someone made the compilation of State of the Union addresses with Clinton, George W. and Obama, and then putting in Trump. They all said they needed more border security. They all asked for a wall. They all asked for all these things. They all said that we need to come together as a nation and deal with these issues. But
they also said they were going to move the
Israeli,
embassy,
yeah,
the embassy to Jerusalem. He did that,
and he did it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's obvious that they don't dislike the issue; they just dislike him.
Right.
And no matter what it is, and it's unfortunate, but
yeah. But we've talked about this a lot, man. It's first world problems and people, but again it's a loudest voice. It's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the people aren't making the noise. It's 20% making the most noise. And you and I run into people all the time across the country. I know you do too. Talk to people that just good down to earth people that they approach things with common sense. That's what we're missing. We're missing the common sense. But you know what else we're missing, Toby? We're missing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. RBG has been AWOL.
Where's she at?
I don't know. I don't know if she's on leave, vacation, or she has not turned in her leave form. But RBG, a movie came out about her. She has been AWOL. I'm thinking anyone that's got the death pool going may be collecting soon or something. But I mean, it's not even being talked about. I mean, she is a member of the. I mean, someone's got to know where she is. I mean, there's only 9 members of the Supreme Court. It's a pretty exclusive club.
No, she's currently not participating in any of the readings and review of any of the cases being presented. Correct?
Right.
If she is completely not participating.
If I see her with a light blue members only jacket on a beach with a pair of sunglasses on, and someone stand next to her holding their arm up, I'm gonna get a little suspicious. It's gonna be weekend at Ruthie's, but
I see what you did there.
see what I did there?
Just like all the pictures that you're currently seeing are ruthless, but
nice. That was a good one. That was a bad dad joke right there, I think.
There was a bad dad joke, but
but she has.
But no, again, instead of doing the right thing, retiring or passing the torch or whatever, it's we're gonna play this game, at the highest level, because it's a lifetime appointment. I'm gonna do what I can to kind of hang on and hold on, and I appreciate the system. I love the system, but again, you're not looking at the betterment of the nation. You're looking at it from a very simple, personalized, egotistical thing. Although I will say I'm excited to watch the movie, because I think that she's accomplished a lot. She's done a lot, and I don't want her behavior in the last year to change the amazing body of work that she's done.
Right. She's accomplished a lot, and she blazed the trail on a lot of things, without a doubt. And
yeah, no, and I want to celebrate her. I want to celebrate her as a person. I want to celebrate her as a woman, because I have daughters. So I want them to look up to her and know that there's someone that's championed on their behalf.
Right.
And that can inspire them to be champions on their own behalf.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to disparage her, and I don't want the
Well,
recent
she's
events to take away from the body of work.
right.
But I
She's
will say, like, hey, when it's time, it's time.
right. Right.
Like,
She's definitely accomplished a lot. She is selfless service, serving on the Supreme Court, making these decisions, and that's regardless of what they were, one way or the other, or however. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely something to be recognized and applauded. And I'm actually interested in seeing the movie too, because I don't know a lot about her past or any of that stuff. And what I've seen from the trailers has been like, wow, okay, she's definitely she accomplished a lot. But the time I started paying attention to, she was kind of already there, and all you can see now is like, oh, she's the lady always falling asleep. But it was just kind of a yeah, it's kind of not going out on top. But interesting, she has not shown up. No one's been asking. But hey, speaking of movies, I do want to get another topic, Toby. But speaking of movies that I want to recommend, I just recently watched in a lot of my travels two movies back to back, which I could not recommend more. The best two movies to watch back and back, if you haven't seen them: Dunkirk, and then The Darkest Hour. Both phenomenal movies in their own right, but interconnected because they're around the same time period. About the same event is happening in both of them. That is the evacuation of 300,000 British troops from the beaches of Dunkirk, France. But if you get a chance, if you haven't seen them, try to do it. Go to Redbox, get both of them, watch them back to back. Phenomenal movies. I don't know if you've seen them, but man, I was thoroughly impressed by the history I learned in both of those that I was not aware of.
so I think I've only seen Dunkirk. In my queue is Darkest Hour. Um, I think Dunkirk is one of the greatest cinematography
Yes.
accomplishments. Period.
Yes,
I, I
you're right.
think I think it's unsung. I think it's been overlooked. I think it's spectacular art. And
How they did the storyline, the overlapping stories and tying in, it was phenomenal.
no,
Um,
like it was a beautiful thing. I watched it in the theaters, with my wife. We had a great time, and I couldn't wait. As soon as it became available on pre-order, I ordered it. You've been up in the we've broadcasted, from the media center, the
yeah,
Casa Nunn. Like Dunkirk is and always will be in my top five movies, probably of all time,
yeah,
of all genres.
yeah.
It's that well done. Now,
Darkest Hour is trust me is so worth it. It is enlightening film about Winston Churchill, how he came into power, how he barely held on to power, and the struggles and challenges he had. Was not a perfect man, like many in our history.
no,
Both in American history and world history, was not above reproach, but just was the right person at the right place at the right time. And yeah, definitely highly recommended too. Both are movies I definitely want to watch again because I
you
just
know,
want to
I,
soak
I,
them in.
I definitely, want to see Darkest Hour. But one of the things that the story involving the evacuation of the troops in dealing with Dunkirk uh, that I would like to highlight quickly uh, is that they basically created back in the day a Cajun Navy,
Yeah, they did.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, the people answered the call, the civilians answered the call, uh, and went into harm's way. And I'm not talking flood infested waters, with fire ants and wet cats and alligators. I'm talking about people going in under Nazi fire, under Nazi air cover, and helping get their boys back. And I got to tell you, like watching that film, not just understanding, the movie aspect of it, but understanding the historical aspect of it, and knowing that these were recreational boaters
Yeah.
that, for the most part, to be a recreational boater, just like here in America, you must have a level of affluence. You have enough disposable income that you could spend it on a boat, or that boat is how you make your living. Perhaps you're a fisherman, a fishmonger, some form of commercial fishery operator. Like you are sacrificing way outside of your station to go get the boys back.
Right.
And, like when we see it here in America, we've had a couple of instances of the Cajun Navy. We've had it with a couple of storms. One of the more successful or more highlighted ones was here in Texas and along the Gulf Coast with Hurricane Harvey, as well as like some of the other major hurricanes in the past, like Katrina and stuff like that. But, we have a historical obligation to make sure that people know that not only did the boys fight bravely and the boys fight against unsurmountable odds, they were also bailed out, sometimes literally with buckets, because the boats were so riddled with gun holes, that people went in and got them. Everyday people, people of affluence, people of privilege, people of perseverance went over and did it. And then when you see the whole picture all come together, it's fantastic. So I highly recommend it. But I digress. It is my top five of all time films.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. The yeah. So the other thing I want to hit on too was this recent. Before we go, we got a few minutes left. I know we want to kind of wrap this up close to the hour. Is this whole thing going on with this abortion stuff in the states of New York and the states of Virginia? It is something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime, nor would I ever think that any politician or anyone of a right, sane mind could ever support. To see not just the crazy state of New York, but now the state of Virginia. From what I understand, a few other states are signing up this New York passing a law, Virginia trying to pass a law, essentially allowing someone to have an abortion up into essentially the day of delivery. Virginia, as they're saying, even while a woman is in dilation. And how that differs or counters the argument of if you are a drunk driver and you hit a pregnant woman in a car, you get charged with the murder of two people. If you kill or stab a woman that is pregnant, pretty much any level of pregnancy, they charge you with the murdering of two people. The killing of an infant preborn is a crime, I think, in most states, if not everywhere. And how that can be a law in the books, and at the same time have a law that allows you to abort a child that could easily have been born weeks, if not months before, and be a totally healthy child. There are a lot of babies that are born well before the 9-month mark. But even if a baby goes long, isn't born right at the right time, and they go long an extra week or two, they're still saying they could abort that child up until the day that born. And if you listen to the Virginia governor's radio interview, he even said they may resuscitate that baby and then they could decide what to do, almost like they could kill the baby after it's born. I almost had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't having a nightmare. Like, is this my country? Is this the values and morals and beliefs, regardless of where you stand on abortion? And I'm not getting into that topic, Toby, about where you stand on one side or the other, and if cases of rape or whatever. But I don't think anyone argues that when you start getting up into that far along in a pregnancy, that is a human being, regardless of where you subscribe to, the stance on abortion. And it shocks me that there are grown adults that can put one foot in front of the other, that have 2 inches of forehead at least, that get paid to do a job, that support this kind of thing.
No, this is a 10-hour conversation.
We don't want it to be
that we have about 3 minutes to knock out. But what I will say is I'm going to echo the sentiment that if the law protects it in one scenario or represents it in one scenario, it should in the other. I am just a meek, humble man, and I don't presume to decide what is better for anybody than what is good for me. While I have thoughts about these things and I have feelings about these things, I first and foremost want to say that they're for me and what's good for me. And I practice my faith as I see fit, and I'm not imposing that on anybody, and I would not want, them to impose their on me. But I will say that if you're saying that this is a choice about somebody's body, and one body comes out dead and the other body continues to live, it's not about your body. You know, however you want to take that, you can take that. You know, like, you know, I'm not gonna sit here, you know, in some Ben Shapiro debate about, you know, sentience, life, and all that. What I will say is, like, if you're saying that this is a choice about your body and your body's not affected and there's another body that comes out intact dead, well, you're right. It's not about your body, it's about that body. You know, because if it was about your body, you'd be dead. So it's unfortunate. You know, I think that, you know, like other things, people are pushing the political envelope because they feel the need that they have to push back, and they have to push back extremely. I think it's a sad state of affairs. Uh, you know, there are better ways to prove your point than to celebrate, you know, like killing somebody. Um, and you know, the flippancy of changing, you know, the colors of certain towers to celebrate it. You know, like, you know, I get it. You know, if that's your way, that's your way. You know, there's things that people do that are not my way. Um, and I'm just grateful that I live where I live, that, you know, we have not gone that far. And I believe that, you know, we should not look at it from a political standpoint and look at it from a human interest standpoint. And if you truly are about giving people a chance, and if you're truly about equality, and you're truly about love, and you're not about hate, you're not about racism, and you're not about things, then maybe you're not about killing people.
Right.
And at dilation, you're killing people. You can go to NICUs all across America and find children that are months away from dilation that are thriving and will continue to thrive. And God bless the March of Dimes for coming up with ways to find amino acids and help people out, you know, and like better that situation. Um, you know, like, I imagine the person that started March of Dimes is probably heartbroken right now because, you know, knowing that something at the form of dilation that they fought hard to get to that point is being discarded and not considered worthy. You know, like, we have a lot of love, we have a lot of wealth, and we have the ability to take care of these kids. We have families without kids that could love them, that'll take them on regardless of medical condition. And at dilation, you're not doing anything other than killing a human being. And there's how you want to look at it scientifically, look at it scientifically. You want to look at it religiously, look at it religiously. If you don't believe in what I believe, that's fine. You know, science. And I'm not talking Bill Nye. I'm talking actual science. That's all I got on that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. We'll have to see how things go. I would think that many are gonna, even in that one party, that they're gonna stand up and say this is just pushing a little bit too far. So we'll have to see. But yeah. So we covered a lot of topics tonight. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Toby, do you got anything else you want to hit on before we wrap it up?
No, I'm excited to head out on an amazing adventure with Veteran Outdoors again here in the very, very, very near future. And excited to continue to serve the veteran community in that capacity. Look forward to next week. Rob, DM me, bro. DM me. Maybe we can have the producer in studio next week. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
That'd be awesome. Producer / guest.
Yeah. You know, like, let's you know, give him some whiskey and maybe like
see what comes out. See what happens. How quick can he do some research here with that? But yeah, and we got some other great ones lining up, and we got some good ones. We are definitely got some in the queue. Some very ones that you don't want to miss. We'll keep it that way. But big events, big news coming over the next month or two. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for welcoming us not only into your homes and your ears and on your screens, but just for being a fan of the show. Keep liking the page. Please let your friends tell them like the page. Check out Enlist 9 Fight Company. Google them over, find them over at E9, and like our Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on there. Try to put up some funny, good, motivating stuff every once in a while. Check out Veteran Outdoors. Absolutely great, awesome charity doing great things that Toby's going to be doing, as she said, very, very soon. But thank you so much for joining us here on this Thursday night, January 31st. Next week we are in February already. The first month of 2019 is gone. 11 more to go. So with that said, everyone have a good night, and we will see all of you later. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, PoohHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.